And welcome live to the LV Home Experts Podcast. My name's Chakits Krulsawat with Simply Vegas, your Las Vegas real estate agent, host of the LV Home Experts Radio Show. And I have my man, Dan French, the co-host. What's going on,
what up?
Dan? What up, what up, what up?
Dude, I love the intro. It's hot right now, dude.
You know, I try to make it as hot as possible, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's doing good, man. You're doing real good.
I don't think so. I didn't really like feel that
vibrant.
Yeah, I didn't feel the energy, man.
You gotta. This is Chakits Krulsawat, Simply Vegas.
Yeah, guarantee mortgage, up there, French. Get a loan right now.
Do you know who I am?
No, I don't, man. But how's everything going with you, man? How was your weekend?
My weekend was great. You know, as always, dude, I'm getting ready to start riding because the weather's starting to get better.
Like dirt bike riding?
Dirt bike rides. So I'm prepping my bike. I went back. Like, it's weird, dude, because I got this thing where I'm trying to balance everything. And it's the hardest thing to, like, work out, take care of kids, family. You got to give all this time. And then I have all these goals and things that I want to accomplish too. And it's just very hard. Yeah. So I went back to working out, and it's hard to stay consistent. It's not because I don't think it's important. Sometimes you choose, like, hey, do I, take my kid, do something or whatever, or do I work out? And I think that's it's been the balancing part for me.
So when are you planning on riding again?
When am I going to ride? I'm probably going to ride. I'm giving myself 2 weeks because it's still 95. And
like degrees?
Yeah, still 95. you put that gear on, turns to 110. So I'm not saying it's like too hot to ride, but it's still, for me, to enjoy it. You want to last a little bit long. So
but you know what's crazy is you said it's 95 degrees. Mm-hmm. We're so used to 110 degrees. 95 degrees is great weather for me, especially when it's dry weather.
Great. But I'm just saying, you put that 20-pound gear on, it turns to 110. You know how it goes.
Oh, yeah. I almost passed out and died. Remember, I literally left the bike and left the helmet. Like, hey, y'all going to have to go get the bike and the helmet. Why'd you leave the bike and helmet? Because I can't kickstart this thing.
It's crazy, man. So, I think you just got to pick your battles. I think for me, I started back and working out. I know you're hitting the workout thing hard right now, right?
Yeah. I mean, can you tell? Like, I've been just...
Yeah. Dude, when I met you... Yeah. I'm not saying you were fat or heavy, but I would say that, you obviously weren't toned. You're toned now. Yeah.
Well, I'm starting to get, what am I doing? I'm hitting the guest button and the guest ain't even there.
You're toned right now. So, I mean, I think whatever you're doing, diet, like, it's hard. Like, I called you the other day. You're like, I'm getting an orange and a banana. And I'm like, man, is that what you do? And it's like, that's your snack, right? Yeah. You don't go and eat like, I'm going to go get, do you even eat protein bars?
No, it's not good for you.
Do you eat anything that is like not real food?
No, I only eat real food. Right?
I know. Do you eat anything that's not real food?
No. Like, I don't eat candy. I don't eat none of that stuff.
Well, I mean, like,
I'm just in meal prep.
So a lot of people, though, they get like whey protein.
No.
Right? They go and they get to those stores and they get like that artificial protein, or sometimes they get vegan protein. You don't eat any of that?
Well, the vegan protein, I actually have that because I need to at least have 150 grams of protein every single day. You know what I'm saying? Because if not, one thing I noticed about lifting weights, you start to fill up, you get all bulky and stuff. But when you stop on the protein, believe it or not, you get skinny pretty fast.
On the protein or just working out in general?
Just working out in general. I'm talking about like your body, right?
Yeah.
Your body mass. And you can no longer see that figure. And that's why sometimes people look lean. Like right now, I'm starting to look lean because I lost a lot of weight and I'm losing, muscle, right? Because if you don't feed your muscles, that's the reason why
you're more toned though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm pretty quick, I guess. Shit.
Yeah, I mean, you're quick, but I don't know. For me, like it's one of those things where it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You're somebody that you count your calories. Do you really count the proteins? I mean, or do you have somebody do that for you?
No, man. I got a coach, man. They do all that. I ain't got time for that stuff, man.
Right.
Come on. You know how that goes. But real quick, I want to do a quick plug, and I want to show you guys something here. This is actually a gift basket from a company, okay?
Nice.
And the name of the company, right? I want to share the love right here because this is important. They stopped by today, and the name of the company is called the Gift Lux, right? And basically, if you guys own a company out there, if you guys are an entrepreneur, you're doing business with somebody, and you want to send them a gift. So Dennis Garcia is actually the owner of the company, right? He will hand deliver a tuxedo, white gloves, and there's so many different types of gifts that come with this box. So however you want to order, it's completely fine. So if you guys are a real estate agent out there, would be a really good marketing material, once you close on a transaction for your client, because this is something that's very memorable. So on this one right here, it looks like we've got 8 Cuban cigars, some sort of vodka, right? We got a cutting board, some snacks. Looks like we have a torch for the cigars. So again, guys, if you guys want to take it to the next level, all right, check these guys out. I'm not too sure what the costs are on these things, but again, it's thegiftLux.net, or you can check them out on Instagram at GiftLux Company. So what do you think about this, Dan? It's pretty cool, right?
I would definitely send that out.
Yeah.
You got to know your client, but I think I would send that out. I think anybody can use that.
Yeah.
Who's not going to, light up a cigar here and there?
So I want to get right in today's show topic. We have an attorney. Her name's Larissa. I don't want to destroy her name, so we'll bring her in on the show, and I'm going to ask what her last name is because I'm not good with last names for some apparent reason. And she's actually with Sovolt and Associates. And today we're going to... Sovolt.
Oh, okay.
And Associates. And we're going to talk about estate planning, right? We're going to talk about probates, anything that has to do with real estate, right? If you're buying an investment property, obviously you want to be protected. Or if you have some sort of primary residence, you're getting older, you got kids, you want to make sure these things are willed properly, correct?
Absolutely.
Right? Because you want to make sure that you're just fully covered, because at the end of the day, we all work so hard to stack money for a down payment. And the American dream is actually to own a home. But then that could be taken away from you just from one lawsuit. Somebody walking on your property gets hurt. So we're going to bring her in the studio. We're going to get York queued in. So hopefully she can come in the studio. I don't know if you, where you at, York? Let's bring in our guest.
Larissa. Calling Larissa.
Calling Larissa. Where you at?
Come on down.
Come on down. Okay, so apparently the show is not working out as smooth as it's supposed to be.
No, it's okay, though.
But I am a little bit early, so it's supposed to be...
10 minutes.
No, two more minutes. I'm just a little bit ahead of the game.
Okay.
But like I said, we're waiting for our guests to come on in. We're trying to make this like the Howard Stern show.
You got to say hey now when they
Hey now. Is that trademarking or what?
I don't know. I think so. But dude, I mean, how many people actually say that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
do you know anything about estate planning?
I do.
Oh, here she is. Come on in.
And
the special guest.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, Larissa.
Good.
How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you.
See?
How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Hey, I just want to say thanks for taking your time to come up on this show. You could have been anywhere else. However, you decided to come out, hang out with us.
Yay. Yes, I'm glad to be here.
Look, I actually was trying to pronounce your last name, but I don't want to destroy it. I'm such a bad person.
You're not a bad person.
How do you pronounce your name?
My last name is pronounced Drohobyczer.
Drohobyczer.
Yes. So I go by locally Larissa at Law.
Okay.
That's actually my website.
Larissa?
Larissa at Law, because nobody can say my last name.
Okay, got it.
So you could just call me Larissa or Larissa at Law.
Chuck has looked at it 3 times. He's like, I'm just going to say your first name.
Yeah, I'm just going to say the first name. So originally you were from New York, you were saying, right? And you were practicing real estate or something?
No, I'm actually a Las Vegas native. I was born and raised here, but I got licensed to practice law in New York after law school. So I was there briefly, and then I relocated here to Vegas in 2011. So I've been licensed to practice law in Nevada since 2012.
Okay.
So I've just been helping families, helping consumers, and using my law license to educate my community and help and be a resource and support to families and businesses and individuals.
You know, you can sit back and relax a little bit. I don't know if is that mic long enough for you here. Let me make the adjustments for you here, so that way we can get that mic in front of you.
She's peeking over too because you got to get that hair right.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. You know what? Maybe we should have had all this set up before. You know what I'm saying?
It's all good.
Sometimes it's just like that. It is what it is. Here you go.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, that's perfect.
So now you can look both ways.
Yes. And
So
you can hear me.
let's talk about, you practice out there in the East Coast. Obviously, you moved out here again for a reason. Why'd you end up coming back out here?
Well, honestly, I came back to Las Vegas because, for lack of better words, Vegas is where it's at.
Like, you mean the money?
The money, the freedom, the lifestyle,
Yeah.
just the quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's really nice here. I've lived a lot of other places, but Vegas, I really do love.
Now, earlier you were talking about that you were a broker out there or something like that. Is that correct?
So because I became a licensed attorney in New York,
Yeah.
I was able to obtain a real estate broker's license very easily by completing a form, because New York has determined that attorneys can qualify for broker status because on the East Coast, lawyers are used for real estate closings. They don't use title companies. So because an attorney can be so fundamental in a real estate transaction, they basically allowed you to become a broker just by virtue of being an attorney.
So do they get paid more out there than out here by using a title company? Because it seems like title companies, they do make a certain amount of money as far as like fees and stuff like that. But on the East Coast, we don't use a title company, so you use an attorney. Are those fees more than the fees here if you did use a title company?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And just to let you know, there are other advantages to the title company. So when you get a title company, you have them do research on the property, and then they'll issue your title insurance. So if they messed up on any of the research, you pay the fee, which is also the closing fee. So it's very small. So what is the fee for escrow? Like $1,500 maybe?
Well, it depends on from one company to another, but they got all additional like miscellaneous fees. So
lawyers there will charge probably about $500 to $650 per hour. And that's going to be for the research. So they do abstract of title. They will complete the transaction. They will also hold third-party funds.
Okay.
So they'll actually use their lawyer's trust account instead of like an escrow account. So it will be more in New York, and the title companies are better here because they have attorneys on staff.
Okay. Now, what about insurance, title insurance? If you bought something in New York, you have an attorney. Is there some sort of title insurance, or how does that work?
To be completely honest with you, I believe that the attorneys will offer title insurance through third-party companies, but they will not do the closing.
Yeah.
So if you want to get the title insurance, you can get insurance for pretty much everything. Yeah. It just won't be the lawyer doing the closing. It will be just a third party.
Oh, got it.
So it'll be an additional fee to the lawyer doing the closing.
Hey,
York, for the title insurance.
York, if you're watching this, can you come in and help the guests and tighten up that mic? You should be watching this right now because you're embarrassing me right now. Because I think it's just sliding down and down. Let me help you out here.
Can you hear me though?
Oh, yeah. We can hear you loud and clear.
We hear you. Yeah, you're perfectly fine. So, on the East Coast, I think that's also for loan officers too. Can attorneys actually represent, don't they represent instead of a loan officer, they actually do the work for the loan? Is that correct? Or
honestly, I don't know the lending piece of it, how it varies on the East Coast, because I was never involved in that aspect. But so I'm here in Vegas and I love it. New York, great to visit, very difficult to live. So I'm glad to be back here.
So let's talk about estate planning. What is estate planning? Why should somebody even get their estate planning?
Okay, that is such a good question, and I'm glad that you're asking. So, because a lot of people don't know. So a lot of people, what happens is they hear the word estate, and that sounds like expensive, rich, wealthy. Well, first of all, your estate, the technical term just means your assets at your passing. So anything in your name when you pass away is considered your estate, even if it's only $5,000. So to answer your question, estate planning is arranging your affairs and legally documenting who will manage your affairs, so both your medical, financial, and legal affairs, in the event that you become incapacitated or pass away. So if a person wants a full comprehensive estate plan, they would get a number of documents, and I'll go into each document specifically later, but it would basically assign who's going to make your medical decisions, who's going to handle your money for you, and if you die, where do you want your money to go? And if you do not create your personalized estate plan, the government has rules, statutes. So the law is written about who's going to get your money when you die if you don't say in a will or a trust who's going to get your money. Okay? Mm-hmm. So furthermore, the statutes also say who can make your decisions for you, who has priority to make your decisions in guardianship court. So the goal of estate planning is to keep your family out of court and conflict, because the truth is, unfortunately, we all will pass away. Yeah. And we do need to have a plan for that, because that's called adulting. Mm-hmm. So, acquiring the money and the wealth is during your life, but your afterlife is kind of the legacy that you leave. So you can determine, if you want to leave your money to a church, family, spouse, you have control over that. But you have to execute the documents properly.
What is the percentage of Americans that actually have an estate planning? So the statistics are that 60% of individuals over the age of 18 have no will. Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot. So more people do not have them than do. And the reason is that a lot of people don't have the education and they don't understand the importance of the documents, why they need them, and what will happen if they don't have them.
When does somebody typically come to you, though? Like what age, I would say demographic, or, what time do people typically go see you? Like if I'm, 35.
When 40, they got money.
That's what I'm saying. Because like at 18, and I would say even to 25, it's very rare that you're going to come into something, you could be a YouTube star like Chakits, but it's very rare that you're going to make money right away. So my question is when do you typically, what is that age group that usually comes and sees you?
Great question. So my ideal consumer now, my demographic has changed since the pandemic. Okay. So now I have from ages about 30 up. So people are getting very much more attuned to their mortality and planning, because now there's been a lot of buzz about estate planning because of the pandemic, and everybody probably knows somebody that's either got COVID or was in the hospital or passed away. So the demographic has changed. But the reality is that if you're over 18, you need an estate plan, and that's not because of the money you may or may not have. It's actually to appoint the individuals who will make your decisions for you when you cannot. Because the law says at age 18, you're an adult. Yeah. So the only person who can make your decisions other than you in an estate plan, or if you're able to make them because you have capacity, the alternative is a judge. So you're looking at court. Mm-hmm. So at minimum, if a person's over the age of 18, they will want to have a financial power of attorney and a durable healthcare directive. And the reason is you can get into an accident at any age, or you can get an illness, or so a lot of people take for granted that they're going to wake up in the morning and come home.
You must be very good at what you do, because there's a comment on here that says, "Oh, that's my attorney. I love her."
Hi, client. Thank you. I love you too.
There you go.
So when would you actually advise somebody to get some sort of trust or a will?
So the rule of thumb in estate planning is if you have anything or anybody that you care about, you're going to get the plan, because you want to make sure that they don't have a big mess to clean up when something happens to you, meaning going to court, fighting. Just, I say that money can make people funny.
Yeah.
So,
I noticed that.
And it's not even that you need to have a lot. Even $10,000 people will fight about.
Over that? That's crazy.
Well, they will. And the problem is, like, the statute that will apply if you don't have a will or a trust just goes off of like legal relationships. So if you have a child with somebody that you might not be married to, or you're in a very serious relationship and you're not married, or you don't plan to get married, you especially need these documents, because if there's no legal relationship, they really have no right, like, ability to like do anything for you or inherit your property unless you execute these documents. So you want to take control and be empowered and kind of be proactive to say that I'm not planning on anything happening to me, but if something does, I have these papers that are legally binding that's going to help my family move through a very difficult part of life, which is tragedy or losing somebody or like some type of accident. It's a lot easier to grieve if you don't have legal problems in addition to that. Because I also do probate and guardianship. So I kind of see the worst in people, but I see the best in people too.
Okay. So what's the difference between like a will and a trust?
That is the biggest question I get asked by people at my seminars.
Yeah.
So I will give a very brief answer for the purposes of the podcast. A will is a written document where you will appoint an executor to manage your estate when you pass. So those will be like your assets or anything like that. And they're going to follow the directions in your will. And they're going to distribute it to the beneficiaries in your will. But a will go through probate court. A trust is essentially a will substitute, except it does not go through probate court. And you can provide for more provisions in a trust and more control over your money in a trust than with a will. But the biggest benefit is the probate court avoidance. And
could that be pretty costly? Yeah.
So the rule of thumb is that probate fees are usually between like 3 and 5% of an estate. Mm-hmm. So if you leave $100,000, 3 to 5% will be what it'll cost roughly. But there can be additional fees if there's like a will contest or you have complicated matters that you're passing. So like Tony Shea had a lot of money. He did not have a will. That's in probate court. That will probably be in probate court for at least 5 years. And those fees will probably be in the millions. Legal fees.
Yeah.
Oh, we got $4.99 super chat. Vera says this: at what point is the terms of the numbers of doors should I consider in estate planning, if at all? Like as soon as I have one, or after 4 doors? So I guess they're asking, hey, if I'm buying an investment property, when should I put all this together?
Oh, then you should have, ideally as soon as you own one home or one property, yeah, you should have an estate plan.
So even though that you don't even have a piece of real estate, you should probably even start looking into this, right?
Well, yeah, you should have it. You should have at minimum a will, a healthcare directive, and a power of attorney for financial.
Yeah.
And like, this sounds so weird, but like your final disposition instructions, because believe it or not,
how creepy is that?
like when people die, like their families will fight over the body.
I want to say
oh, really?
something about
They even do that too?
Over the body.
Yeah,
wow, that's interesting.
They'll fight about whether it should be cremated or burial. And if there's no consistent decision amongst family members that have the same priority. This is if there's no final disposition document left, which I create. The funeral home will keep the body refrigerated until they get a court order or some document that gives them a clear direction on what to do because they don't want to get sued. So it's pretty gross that a dead body could be like in a fridge of a funeral home until
until it's figured out.
Yeah, that happened to actually some family friends. So it happens.
I want to say this. So on a probate, I've seen it where it's taken months, even sometimes years, right? So you're saying that you kind of target younger audience. Would they start with would you even advise them to start with a will, and then once you start getting assets, then you convert it into a trust? I mean, is that how the process would go if you're advising, or is it, let's just start off with a trust? Because if you don't have any assets, there's no real reason to even create maybe a trust. Is that true?
Correct. Yes. So not everybody is a candidate for a trust.
Yeah.
But everybody is a candidate for a will, because at least a will or higher. Well,
if you have a will, it still goes to probate though, right?
Correct. However, some people, the way their assets are titled, they still may avoid a probate. So for example, the way you own property will determine how it's going to distribute at your death. So you can own it in your name solely. You could have a co-owner. You could have it in a trust, or you can have a beneficiary designation. So what I typically do to advise clients on your question is I offer what's called a life and legacy planning session. And we go through all the assets and we see how they're owned, because that's going to determine how they're going to pass at your death. And then so for married people, a lot have the assets jointly, or if you might have a prenup. So everybody's variables are different. So there's no one size fits all plan. But we do this life and legacy session, and we determine based on your assets. So it's not just whether or not you own a home. It could also be if your beneficiaries are minors.
Yeah. You
want to trust. And if people want to learn more about why, I'll give information on my next seminar, but I don't want to overload the audience with information. So there are some instances where I recommend a trust, even if they don't own real property. Usually it's if they have a lot of life insurance. So if you have $1 million in life insurance and 2 little kids, if you name your kids as the beneficiary, the first thing that's going to happen is there's going to have to be a guardianship established through court, and then the money stays locked up in guardianship court until the child's 18, and then at 18, a child would get all the money with no oversight or direction. But if a parent planned to make the trust the beneficiary on a high life insurance policy, then they can delay distributions to the child until certain ages and stages, and there's a lot more control over the money.
Man, that is a lot of information.
But it's very detailed.
Yes, it is.
I like it. It's every line detailed. I love it.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick sponsor break. That is right. Here we go.
Does your house look like and have you been considering remodeling your home for some time now? Well, if you love real estate like I do and appreciate the attention to detail in the craftsmanship required to build a remodel or a gorgeous home, then I got the perfect company for you. Guys, I highly recommend Design Zone Remodeling. They are a stellar company that will turn your outdated home into your own personal sanctuary. They specialize in bathroom remodels, kitchen remodels, and full house remodels. Design Zone Remodeling has a reputation for excellent workmanship, competitive fees, and being able to offer a wide range of services and deliver the outstanding results to their clients. I use Design Zone Remodeling on my personal properties. Give Design Zone Remodeling a call today at 725-223-0871 or visit their website at designzoneremodeling.com to request a free consultation today.
Welcome back to the LV Home Experts podcast. If you just tuned in, my name's Chakits, a host of the show, and we got my co-host Dan French with Guarantee Rates, and we have a special guest today. get you guys caught up. We're talking about estate planning and why this is actually very important. So our guest, Larissa, we were just talking about wills and trust. What's the difference between that? Obviously, you don't want to go to probate. So we're going to jump right back into our show here. So where do we leave off, guys?
We left off talking about when should you actually get into a will and when she should advise people with the assets that they have. So if they have multiple assets, like a house, yeah, obviously a trust is there, but a will. So you said 30 years old, you're seeing younger generations come in because of COVID. Mm-hmm. Are they, when these people come in, do they typically have, are they, more establishment in life, or is it, they typically start with a will? Is that kind of how the process works, or is it straight into a trust? Because I'm just curious how some of these younger generation, because I feel like they're getting smarter. Younger generations are getting smarter.
They are because of the internet.
100%.
And social media. So they're a lot more educated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll answer your question with a real world example. I had a young couple. They're in their early 30s, no kids.
Yeah.
They own their home jointly, but they did not get a trust. I did not recommend it for them because when one passes, the home will automatically pass to the surviving spouse. And they said, they had a certain budget that we wanted to stay within. So the will plan worked for them. And as they grow their family and their assets, then they'll come back and see me and they'll get a trust when that time's appropriate.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I didn't get a trust until like later on. But what happened was, as I was accumulating properties, the first thing I got was, the hell did I get? I forgot. I got an LLC, a series LLC, and that was I think it was like some sort of trust. Then I got an asset protection trust. So there's two different types of trust, right? I think it is.
Well, there's like 30 types of trust.
Really?
But yeah.
Oh, no, I think it was a revocable trust. I forget.
I know what you got. You got an asset protection trust.
And then
that's
the
irrevocable.
Yeah,
and
correct.
then we do the revocable probate avoidance. Correct.
So I didn't do that. So basically what happened, I guess it was like a layers of onions. So basically I got that asset protection trust. Then I had, what was in it was my series LLC with all the properties. Then at that point, I created that revocable trust, I think it was. So there's two separate trusts, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't get all that at one time because these things are pretty damn pricey. But
yeah, that's a question I have. Where does that price point start to set up a trust?
Well, it really depends where you are currently in life, because here's the thing. If you
and
look
where
at,
you go.
Yeah, exactly. Because look, at 18, you're probably not going to get that because you're just starting your life. You don't have any money. But if you're like some 18-year-old kid that has millions of dollars, then yes, that would actually make sense. But what I realized is as you start to accumulate more assets, you start to get more smarter about your money, but then you work so hard, but now it's like, I got to protect this some way, somehow, right?
Yeah.
And if you take a look, the average person probably doesn't start until maybe 28 and up, right? Because you said around 30, right? Because that's when people start really accumulating assets, right? Because you don't really accumulate assets in your early 20s. You're out there, you're working hard to build these assets, right?
Yes, you're correct. So your estate plan will change with your life. So, as you acquire more wealth, there's also tax considerations that come into play. If you're at a very high threshold as far as your wealth is concerned. And then there's like considerations regarding, your children. So the price point question, it really depends where you go because you can do it. There are do-it-yourself plans. I would never recommend that unless you truly had no money. Because I've been paid more to fix do-it-yourself plans than what it would cost to get it done right in the first place.
Like LegalZoom?
So when they do it wrong, and I'm not going to say the name of the company, but it's,
No, I understand what you're saying because there's companies out there that I know of because they do marketing. It's called like LegalZoom. And I noticed that, they're pitching it, but on the backside, I'm thinking like, why would I do that? I have no clue how to read these documents. I don't understand them. And they probably have to be filed a certain way too, though, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so there are documents that need to be filed if you, depending on the type of estate plan you have.
Yeah.
And you really only have one chance to do it right. So if you do it wrong and you die, that's your plan, a bad one that you either did yourself or a bad lawyer did it. If you pay to get it done right the first time, then it really avoids a lot of problems and costs. So I say to most people that it's an investment. So like with clients that see me, I have planning based on different levels of planning because everybody will have different dynamics and variables.
Yeah.
So your plan would not be his plan, would be my plan. So we determine what they need based on, their assets and their family. And then the fee can increase if we do tax planning and asset protection and a lot of other goals that can be accomplished through trust.
Yeah.
So, you can go somewhere here and probably get a trust done for $600 or $1,000. It's not going to be as good as my trust because my trust have to be more because I put more time into it. Okay. So you have to know what you're doing to plan it, to make sure that like assets are protected and the government doesn't take a bunch of the money, things like that.
Now you mentioned bad attorney, right? If I'm
I
shopping
should have
around,
said inexperienced.
okay. So how do an average person like me knows like this is a good attorney and they're gonna get it done right? Like, what are some of those tips that you can share?
Okay, so now we're super lucky because there is Google and there are reviews.
Okay.
So you're gonna research a person. You could go on Google, and you'll want to read the reviews. Getting a suggestion like word of mouth referral is how I get most of my business. Is word of mouth in Google because we have a very high ranking on Google My Business. We're 4.9. And then 2, you want to research, speak to the attorney, ask them about their experience. And, it's all about the connection too, because.
Well, what kind of questions should I be asking?
Okay. So you're going to ask, how long have you been doing this? What's
Okay.
your experience? You're going to ask, well, can I talk to maybe some of your past clients? Are there any testimonials? Because now we all have it on Google or our website. And then basically, once you determine that they know what they're doing, they've been doing it long enough, and there are some attorneys who do estate planning who don't go to court, so they don't litigate issues. If you're only doing planning, you're not going to do good planning unless you're really seeing how judges are interpreting these documents and what happens, when somebody passes away. There's a lot of legal stuff that happens. So you want to make sure that the lawyer has experience on, have you been in these scenarios, So the questions, you just going to do your homework, but the top ones are their experience, and their rating on Google. And I would get like referrals from people that have used the attorney. And what has your experience been with this attorney?
Now let's talk about power attorney. What is power attorney, and when would somebody actually use that?
A power of attorney is an estate planning document, and that particular document allows you or anybody to appoint an agent. So it's going to be a person that you're going to pick who's going to make your legal and financial decisions for you.
Okay. Now,
so you can name your girlfriend, your brother, your mom, and then you're going to say in the document the categories of authority. So over your IRS, banking, real estate, anything like that, or you can give them broad authority to handle all your affairs.
Now there's times in a transaction that I have before we close, sometimes the buyer may not be here because they leave the country.
Yeah.
And with the title company, we get power of attorney just to sign that one document to close out on that deal. So that's kind of a instance that I just wanted to share with everybody. That doesn't happen all the time.
I've actually been a POA. Somebody hired me to be their agent to sign their title documents because they didn't want to go to the title company. So they paid me to literally sign documents for them. And the reason I was hired was because the title company said your POA could only be a family member or an attorney. And that was just the title company rules.
That's pretty interesting. Okay.
Nice.
Let's talk about, you said that there's all different types of asset protection, right? Can you name a few? Because you said there was 30. Now, if I'm talking to an attorney, is he going to advise me which is the best one for me, or he's basically going to say, "Hey, here's 30 of them, pick one"? How does that actually work?
No. They wouldn't expect you to. No, so it's not like a menu that you pick.
Okay.
It's not that. So, as I mentioned in my life and legacy planning, we analyze the assets, and then when they decide they want to get their estate plan, we design their trust together. So how that happens is I take the client through a lot of scenarios, and I will ask them, what is your desired outcome? And then I draft the documents with the legal language to achieve their outcome.
I see.
So I don't make them tell me, I want an irrevocable asset protection trust, dynasty trust. They don't need to know all the technical lingo.
Yeah.
I will do a series of questions, and then based off of that, it goes, it can go in many directions. So we do a thorough analysis of the family dynamics, and that's how we create the trust. So the attorney really drafts it. We come up with the trust that's a type for the client.
And how do I know when to update these things?
You want to update your estate planning documents every time that you have a life change.
Okay.
So if you get married, have a child, get divorced,
Buy
have
another
grandchildren, you don't have to update the documents when your assets change. You just fund those assets into your trust.
Okay.
So that means for the listeners, if people who are visual, you're going to think of your trust as like a little red wagon, and your assets are going to be the toys. So you need to put your toys in the wagon. Put your toys, your assets into your trust.
Kind of like your dirt bike, Dan.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the trust has to own your assets, and that's how it's funded. So the attorney, when you work with a good attorney, an experienced one, they will fund it for you, because some attorneys will just give you the documents and be like, here, go to the bank, put your accounts in there. Here's your deed, record your deed, do this, do that. And then the average person's like, oh my God, I forgot. I don't understand. And their trusts never get funded. So then the X amount of money they paid for those papers is worthless, because this family's still going to be in probate court.
Now, if somebody's litigating against you, can these trusts be penetrated?
Okay, so
How do I hide my money?
There's a lot of
question.
ways. Okay. Well, off the record is
dig a
going to be
hole.
different. Yeah. The off the record conversation is going to be different than this
Okay.
one. But remind me of the question again.
Okay, so if somebody's litigating against you, are these trusts, can people tap into them? Are they penetratable?
So, yeah. So the trust can be challenged, but I put no contest provisions in the trust. So the only basis of challenging the trust is not that you don't like what's in it. It's going to be whether or not the creator had the capacity to do it. So were they already old and had dementia and on their deathbed and you forged it? Or, was there duress or any factor that would invalidate the contracts, the documents that have been signed? That's the only basis. And in order to litigate those, you're in court, you need proof. So you need medical records that the person had dementia or things like that. So it's not that easy for a person to contest the documents. There's a very high
somebody
standard.
was trying to sue me, and I'm trying to protect that money I have in that trust?
Well, yeah, with your asset protection trust, you will.
Okay. So they won't be able to penetrate it. Is that correct?
Yeah, as long as you are following all the proper formalities with the asset protection trust, correct. That they are free from attack from creditors, lawsuits, divorce.
I feel like there's so many damn rules, because it's like, I know that I have an account that's in a trust, but then my attorney's telling me that you got to file with the city, because it has to be like seasoned for so long or something like that. Can you kind of explain what that is?
So once you create your asset protection trust, there are some procedures that need to be followed in order for the trust to be, as they call, seasoned, or to be established for the length of period required for there to be asset protection. So you do need to file a notice of irrevocability. You're going to need to file documents about what assets are being placed in the trust and that you've created on such and such date.
It just seems like there's so many rules for this thing, and it's just like you do one slip out, right? Next thing you know it, they're like literally penetrating it. That's the way I feel anyway.
There are formalities, but if you follow them, then you are good to go, because the Nevada Domestic Asset Protection Trusts are said to be like the best and the
Really?
the most like stringent in the country. So
Okay.
they're doing like Delaware, Nevada, and South Dakota.
Now, can I use my trust in other states or?
Yeah.
Oh, you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Explain that.
So if you have a trust and let's say you live in Nevada or you can live multiple places, you can have a trust that owns properties in multiple states.
Now, what about the laws? Do you have to follow different laws with different states for having the same trust?
So no, when you create your document, you typically will have in the document, the governing law is the state, like, and where you reside. So for my trust, Nevada is the governing
see.
law. And then if you move, then sometimes the laws of the new state apply. There's different like nuances, but the trust goes with you wherever you are. You just have to fund your assets in it, no matter where they're located.
So it goes
And-
with you per state.
Yeah, it goes
Gotcha.
with you because, yes. And then it's good for your whole life. So you don't get a new one every time something changes. You do amendments.
I see.
So,
Now, if somebody was actually buying a house today, and let's say they just do financing, right? A lot of these lenders, what I've noticed is you can't just put it automatically into the trust, correct? So the question is, why is that, Dan?
So you have a residential. When you do a loan, they want you to have a loan as a residential buyer, right?
Yeah.
You're the one that owns the house. When you put it into a trust or an LLC, now
It's a different entity,
the
right?
business
Yeah.
the business entity owns it, and it takes away the liability of you as being the person that owns it, because a bank will give a loan to a person, not a business, because then it becomes a commercial loan. So so for my industry, it's a
Yeah.
completely different world.
Yeah.
It would be a commercial loan at that point.
But then I see what happens is like 90 days later, they change title into a trust.
correct.
So, is
I'm
there a
gonna
certain way to do
answer
that?
that.
Yeah, go ahead. Please
I've
do.
actually had to do refis, and a lot of my clients that have trust with me, then they'll go through a refi and then they'll contact me. So the lender, from what I understand, the lender gives you the loan in your name.
Correct.
So the loan will be under Larissa D. My
Right.
last name's super long. Okay. So that home now has to be vested in your name because you're the person that has the loan related to you personally. They will allow you to sometimes record in the name of the trust. It depends on the lender.
Yeah.
But if you do a refi or they don't allow the
you can
recording,
definitely do it, in the trust.
then you can execute a quitclaim deed into the name of your trust. So from your individual name into your trust, you can do that. But most lenders want the property to be in the individual's name first, from what I understand.
It's first. And here's the thing too, is like there is commercial loans out there. We're talking about one section of residential
Yeah.
loans. But
Correct.
you can get a commercial loan. You can get a loan under your company.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? If you go to a specific bank that does commercial loans. So it's
But a
just,
majority of our audience is all primary residents. But now, if you did that quitclaim deed, let me ask you this: does that void the title insurance? Because I've talked to title companies. You know, that's the reason why you have a title company is to go get title insurance. And if you're doing that quitclaim deed yourself, you may lose title insurance. Am I wrong or am I right here?
Well, you are right. And there's other issues if you do your deed yourself that the lender may call the note. So you do want an attorney to always prepare deeds, or a title company. Like,
Have you ever seen a due on sales clause?
so I had
something like that?
Well, yeah, like I had a particular client and we did her quitclaim deed from her individual name into her trust. And she still had her mortgage with a bank, a financial institution that shall remain nameless. But they wanted the full-blown typed out legal description. And when we recorded her deed, we used the assessor's legal description. So that short form that's on the assessor's site.
Yeah.
So this was the only time in like 10 years this has happened. The lender wanted us to re-record the deed with like the 2-page legal description
Yeah.
instead of that short form. So they were going to call it due if we didn't include that full legal.
wow.
That was their own silly policy. This is the first time, and I've probably done like 300 trusts.
Yeah.
Okay. First time ever. So the attorney, you need to have an attorney or title company do your deed. And if you mess it up, it could mess things up. But it will not void your title insurance because with a lot of the trusts I've done the deeds, the quick claim deeds to the trust, and then they've sold the property since. So the title company saw that the original owner's name, and then they saw that they signed as trustee and it was going into a trust that they controlled. So they were still able to issue title insurance even though it was a quit claim deed, because most quit claim deeds they won't offer title insurance on. But for trust, they're a little more lenient.
Because I've noticed a lot of buyers will do that, move it into a trust or some sort of LLC, because I've done it multiple times with my investment properties that I never had the note come due. Have you ever seen anything like that, Dan?
Not that I've seen. I've never had anybody or any lender that I've worked for that's ever had that. So that must have been like a one-off.
So,
yeah, it was a total one-off.
I'm going to say it's kind of like almost like jaywalking. You know it's illegal. However, when was the last time you got a ticket for jaywalking? So, guys, I'm not saying go out there and then do this kind of stuff, but it's just something that I'm aware of, and I've done it, multiple times with all my properties, that has a mortgage. Because at the end of the day, I don't understand why the lenders wouldn't allow you to do this, because you don't want to have that damn liability, right?
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense. So that's kind of like my thought on that. Is there anything that you want to cover? I mean, we got a couple more minutes, Dan.
No, I mean, we can talk about the Fed raising the Fed's fund rate. I mean, we can talk about that. It's up to you. 75
basis points. You know what's going on with that with the Feds?
So not anything with recently, but I know that the rates have been hiking up, and they're continue to hike and probably going to continue for at least like a year or two. And is there a recent rate raise?
Yeah, that's true.
Pretty much today. So basically they had their meeting yesterday and today. And basically we talked about this. I believe that they were going to go up to 75 basis points, which is they are going up to 75 basis points. So from 2.5, now they'll be at 2.75 at this point. Is that correct, Dan?
I think it'll be 3.25, isn't it?
Oh, no, it should only go up 1/4%.
So let me say this. This is what some of the things. So what the Fed is saying is that they have a forecast to get the rates back down to 2.9% at the end of 2025. The long run is to get it back to 2.5%. And I'm sitting there thinking
that's funny how they're already preparing you all the way down to 2025.
Wow. This is that's going to take that long.
So they're already telling you what's going on with the market.
As everybody knows, when they did it, the bond market, stock market was going crazy. Yeah. And the bond market actually got better. So rates got better for a short window, but then they jump right back up. Yeah. So, they're going to continue to raise these Fed fund rates. So what they're looking at is the Fed is going to...
Oh, it says great information as always, Chuck. It always says hi to Dan and from Taco Tuesday Troops, Veer, running with an attitude, and Tim. There you go. Thank you very much. Super chat, you know what that is, right?
I don't.
Okay, so basically what happens is we have like a strip of comments that are coming up and down here. Yeah. Then some of these subscribers and followers, they can actually donate money. So every time they donate money, right, we hit this button and we just cut everybody off and we just cheer. So
yay.
There you go.
I want to end this note on this. The money dance.
The money dance. It's dying.
What did Rick Ross say? You listen to rap? You listen to rap?
I know you do.
I listen to rap. I listen to hip hop. So Rick Ross, in one of his songs, he says, I don't bop, I do the money dance.
The money dance. That money dance. All right, let's finish this thing up, Dan.
No, I was just going to say, so in the future, they're talking about definite rate hikes, 75 basis points in November, 50 in December, and then 25 in February next year.
That's crazy.
So they're going to continue to keep going. They're saying that this is definitive.
So if you're going to get your house, get it now, right? Before it keeps going up? If you're going to get a loan?
Well, yeah, and also, too, I think businesses are going to suffer from this, and there may be layoffs. Well, layoffs. People start losing their jobs.
Do you think this is going to be like another 2007?
No, but I think that we're still we have more to come down.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you, Dan. I think this is gonna be worse than 2008. Okay, but that's just my opinion. We can get into this later on. We don't have any time, but I just want to say, Larissa, thanks for taking your time coming on out here to educate us. What's the best way to find you if people want to start their estate planning? If they have a property, I would really encourage you guys to contact her. to actually sit down with her, right?
Yeah, I offer the Life and Legacy sessions. So they're normally $750 because it's a 2-hour session. But the listeners, if they mention this podcast, they'll get the complimentary family wealth planning session, which is $750, and then they'll get $250 off any plan that they get.
Dude, I'm signing up.
So that's an offer.
I'm signing up.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So you can, I also have seminars, so monthly seminars, which I'm inviting you guys to.
Okay.
I'll get your emails. You're going to learn a lot. So you can reach me at 999-4444, or my website is larissa@law.com. It's Larissa with 1 R and 2 S's. Larissa@law.com.
And do we have an IG account where people can follow you on that too as well?
I do. It's Larissa the Lawyer, and my TikTok is Larissa Law Talk, and it's T-O-K.
Hell yeah.
Law Talk.
Damn.
All right, guys, show the love, show the support. I'm going to have a link in the description below. So if you guys want to reach on out to her, I really encourage it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That's right. Other than that, until next time, peace.